just going to count down then.
All
Three,
right.
2, 1. Hello, Aaron Chen, and welcome to the Ponytail Show, all the way from Sydney, Australia.
Yeah. Hey, Lauren. Thank you so much for having me.
So stoked. Okay, so someone randomly sent me that short clip from your special on Adult Swim about from Ponytail magazine, and they thought it was like something to do with like the Ponytail Journal and Ponytail Show. So like I checked it out, and man, that special, A Life in Questions Wisdom School with Aaron Chen, is it's so good, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, when we were writing the special, one of the ways we tried to write jokes was we were trying to put any words together to try to find the funniest name for different publications. And one of them that stuck was Ponytail magazine. And
Well,
when I received the email from you saying that you're from Ponytail Journal, I laughed so hard.
I know, right? Like, I was like, yeah, that just makes me feel really good about myself that I created a whole empire based on a joke. But
that took us ages to write.
But I feel like the function of your work and your profession is very important in society, which is exactly why I wanted to have you on the show. Because, yeah, first of all, I think it's important that people know a little bit about you and what you do. So can you tell everybody out there who you are and what you do and what you like in life?
Yes, my name is Aaron Chen, and I started as a stand-up comedian, but now I do broad screen comedy as well, and I also write the words Ponytail magazine, and slightly different to your publication. And yeah, what do I like? I love cooking and food, and also soccer.
Nice.
Apart from my job. Was that like an icebreaker question? Yeah, you go.
Yeah, it was totally, because I'm happy that you like food and cooking, because I like food and cooking too, and that's fun to talk about. I live in Bangkok.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm in Bangkok. That's where
and there's lots of food and cooking going on.
Oh, so much food and cooking. It's a very delicious experience to live here. Have you ever been to Bangkok before?
No, I would love to.
Yeah,
it looks like a dream.
Anytime once you can leave your country, you're welcome to come and eat food here. So tell me about first of all, why did you want to become a comedian? When did that happen to?
I guess the story is that I started doing speeches in high school in front of the school and did funny speeches. And then I got such a rush from it that afterwards I Googled how do you do funny speeches outside of school. And it was comedy. So I started doing that, did all the clubs and pubs, and it really stuck.
Yeah. I feel like I grew up in Sydney as well, and there's such a good kind of nightlife, live entertainment scene in Australia, and it's a really healthy scene, I feel like. But and doing the touring kind of circuit, within Sydney, and then starting to travel interstate. What was that process for you? And because you do massive shows now. You're really famous and stuff.
That's very nice of you.
It looks very impressive from the internet.
I just was doing shows. Everything gets bigger gradually. So I did shows and comedy competitions in Sydney that led me to go to Melbourne for the comedy festival. And then that just becomes the path that you go down is doing an hour-long show at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. So I did that for a few years. And then other festivals around Australia ask you to do stuff, and then you get on a little touring circuit.
Sweet. What's like a comedy competition like? Is that when you like battle?
It's not like head to head like a rap battle type situation, but it's more with adjudicators and like more like a dog show type thing. All the dogs go in a row and then people silently write notes and stuff.
Is there like a dress code? Like, it sounds really serious.
No, it's still really, really silly. It being comedy and whatnot. There's no dress code at all.
I just picture like people in suits, like just basically a dog show that you just stand in the middle of the paddock and
They should have one like that. I think they should have a formal comedy competition.
They should. I mean, that would be beautiful. You should pitch that to TV or something. I had an idea. I had an idea that like I have a lot of ideas for TV shows, but this one idea I had last week was that I think Australia needs their own version of Jersey Shore, and I think it would be really successful. And
which suburb do you think, or which area encapsulates Jersey Shore the best?
Well, I had this idea because I was on the phone with my sister, and her best friend Mel would be like the perfect main character for Jersey Shore. And so it would be something like Parramatta, but there's no beach in Parramatta, so it would be like Parramatta drive through Krispy Kreme or something. But yeah, I feel like there's so much about Australia. Thanks. Well, if you have any connections,
produce it.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love that. Well, I've already got the cast, so it's ready to go. We'll be really rich.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
cool.
There's a lot of spin-off shows from other places in Australia, like MasterChef and stuff. So that could be really successful. Anyway, we'll talk about that off air. So back to personal presentation. How important is style to you on the stage and off the stage?
I think I like it. It is maybe a little bit important in that it's kind of fun and you can muck around with it, but it is not definitely a be-all and end-all for me, but I can understand how it could be.
Well, you definitely you have like a specific look right now. I'm not sure if you always had this look, but it's a very specific look right now. It's actually, to me, from the fashion world, you look pretty trendy, mate. Like, the mullet is coming back. The mullet made its comeback in 2020, but I think it'll come back in a big way in 2021. And like also the glasses, I mean they're very on point. Like, yeah, respect, man. Do you have any?
Thank you.
Do you have any trend predictions for 2021?
Trend predictions for 2021. That's really hard. I think maybe the pants will become baggier. I think we're looking at 2000s to 2010, that type of thing. Nice. Who knows?
Yeah.
What do you reckon? I would love to know from you what you reckon.
I have a fashion business, but I don't really follow trends because I just do what I like. But then it ends up being a trend anyway. So, like,
that's
sick. It's sick, but sometimes I'm too fast. But it's okay.
As in too ahead of
sometimes you put things out there and they totally fail because they're just a little bit too early and people don't get it.
What's the... Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day because it's like sometimes you want to be like ahead of the thing, like you want to have the mullet like a couple of years before it pops off, but then you're just someone with a mullet, you know?
Yeah. I saw this video.
So I guess you just have to really like it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You know what is the most trendy thing? That the only advice I could give anybody ever about trendiness and style is the most trendy thing you can do in life is to know yourself, know what you like, and do that.
Thank you so much. That felt very, wise and touching.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while. I mean, for my whole career, but
How long do you reckon since the start of your career?
it's probably, so I'm like 31, so it's probably been like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
10 years.
And what was the start of it? Sorry to ask.
Well, it's okay because like kind of the reason why I had you on the show is because you're kind of the gold standard of interviewers in the industry. And like actually it was very intimidating for me to have you on my show and interview you. So I'm kind of glad that there's a little bit of ping pong back and forth. But
yeah, it's two interviewers going.
Yeah, it's almost like a comedian battle, but I'm not a comedian, so I'm like I have a handicap to start with.
You got a couple of laughs out of me.
Thanks, mate. It's probably a pity laugh, but well, I started to do fashion by accident. I studied at Sydney College of the Arts, which is like a art school in Rozelle.
The building's no longer there.
Oh, what?
They sold it.
No way.
It's still there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a bit out of touch with Sydney. But so I studied photography and art. And then I didn't learn anything really. Like it was just basically 3 years of soul searching because you don't really learn much at art school, to be honest. Just heads up to Gen Z. And and then I don't know, I just like was doing a lot of side hustling, and I did a bit of modeling and just fell into the fashion world, and it took me in, and it teleported me everywhere. And then I just started my own thing. I started Ponytail Journal like 8 years ago now, maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
How did you come up with the name Ponytail Journal? Was it a similar?
Yeah, this is a good topic.
This
is a good topic because we can talk about ponytails, which is very important. So I came up with Ponytail Journal. Well, I think ponytails are really functional. I just wanted to make a name that people would remember. So I picked ponytail because it's like a functional hairstyle. I'm a very functional kind of do-it-yourself kind of gal. And I just figured I wear ponytails a lot. And then it was like my journal because back then, like that was when blogs were like a thing. And like my blog was my journal. So I just made posts about things that I like.
That's so cool.
Thanks. And then it just kind of snowballed. Like Vogue Australia,
was it a .blogspot or .tumblr?
It was a .wordpress, but from the beginning
.wordpress.
I think I always had it as .com.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Powered by WordPress.
Yeah, thank you, WordPress.
You got Vogue Australia.
Yeah, so Vogue Australia then one day approached me. I am not cool, okay? Like I'm not like stylish and like in the Vogue sense, you know? Like I'm like the underdog of the fashion world that like I never know what I'm doing. But Vogue Australia hired me to write about style for them for like 3 years because of Ponytail Journal. So basically I'd made this like it was all smoke and mirrors. I just made this facade on the internet that made people think that I had something to say that was worth saying about fashion. Yeah.
Hey, did you see that the Kamala Harris Vogue thing?
No, what is that?
Do you know Kamala Harris, the vice president? Well, there was she's pretty famous.
She is.
I think Vogue, there was a bit of beef between Vogue and them because there were two different covers shot for the thing, and one was her in like very casual, she's wearing like chucks and like skinny jeans, and the other one was a more presidential one, but they ran with the chucks one. In my mind, I think I prefer the.
So
you should have a look at the photos. It's
so Kamala had beef with Vogue, but like, to be honest, if you're the vice president and you like someone makes you do a photo shoot in chucks, like you kind of know.
Yeah, that's the end already. Like, you should have not put on the chucks if you didn't want to.
I'm just looking it up now.
Oh yeah, have a look. Which of the photos do you prefer?
Oh, I see. I see. It's like the progressive Kamala and the conservative Kamala. Which one wins?
Yeah.
You know what? She looks very left wing with the sneakers on. You know what?
She doesn't look fully comfortable in either shot.
She looks more comfortable in the grey conservative jacket.
Yeah.
I feel like that rings with her more. Things.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So the vote's in.
So I want to talk about your career and stuff. So you know, it's easy to kind of rise to the top, but it's very difficult to stay on top. And because you're always pushing boundaries with interviewing styles and interviewing, what's next for you? Like, where are you at right now?
In terms of like, what new type of interview do I want to do?
Yeah, how are you, like, how many boundaries can you possibly push? Or is there an infinite amount of boundaries in the universe that you can continually push?
I guess maybe there's not an infinite maybe there is an infinite amount in the universe, but there is definitely infinite amount in my personal universe, as I'm so minuscule and the world is so big. So who knows where you could go next? I think, like what you said about style, I think setting your own pace is important and not racing against other people, but kind of, you got to have rest, you got to take breaks, but you got to also just do what you want. And sometimes you have to say no to things that may launch you into a higher sphere, but may put you out of your enjoyment zone or comfort zone.
Totally. Because that's like, I feel like being creative is a process where, like, you can't burn out. I learned that you can't burn out when you're making stuff, because you won't have any more juju to make stuff. Like, if you do too much stuff, you spend it all. You'll be spent.
Yes.
But at the same time, you need to exercise the muscle in your brain that, you know, like, just like anything, if you eat Doritos all day and you lie around watching TV, then you won't have six-pack abs. So it's like finding a balance between exercising that creative muscle in your brain and giving it enough rest to make the best thing possible.
To also celebrate and keep that.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's all. You can talk lots too if you like. You know, this podcast is about you, so don't worry about interrupting me. That's my style. I was curious, like, I in my work, I'm really like into history. I like learning about history. And I feel like the history that you learn in school is like really paints such a tiny window into like who we are as people, that I felt like after school and like when I started working and stuff, like I started to learn about real history, like a lot of things that I just had no idea about, like, how important is history to you in your life and in your work, and how that tells people and tells yourself about who you are.
As in like a personal history or history in general?
Everything. It's all history.
I think it's all like pretty important because you're bouncing off of history and stuff like that. And it's like, it's a good like guide for the future and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right in saying like all the high school subjects can be really boring until you access them from like a place of your own enjoyment. Like I was talking to a friend the other day about how like we both hated science class in school, but we started to enjoy science after like finding science in things we both liked and whatever.
Nice.
I think the same with history. Like sometimes you don't want to spend like 5 years learning about like World War II, but then you're like, oh, this is a thing I like.
Yeah.
But like stand-up's interesting because stand-up in like Sydney, for example, is like quite a young history, but it's really interesting to see how the style of comedy now is informed by everything that came before and the moments of like reforming and like being the alternative comedy starting and stuff like that, and how it's ended up the way it is. It's interesting to trace it back.
Yeah. Like, I feel like humor in Australian society is like a really important factor. Like, a lot of people like to think they're funny, and like it probably comes, a lot of the influence from like contemporary Australian culture probably comes from like, Anglo-Saxon, like English culture, but now it's kind of getting mixed up, like with more people coming to Australia and like, mixing in their flavors, and like, what is like, okay, Australia has a really young history. Colonized Australia has a really young history. Like, were you born in Australia? Like, when did your family come to Australia? Like, why did they come? And like, how's it been for you guys?
Yeah, I was born in 95, and my dad came over in 91 because of because he was persecuted in China, or just had a tough time in China, I guess. Did like farm labor and stuff. So so that's why he came, and that's how we ended up here.
Where in China did he come from?
Shanghai.
Shanghai. My grandma came from Beijing.
Have you been?
I've been to Shanghai.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
My grandma also left China, but like in like 1949, and they went to Taiwan.
Oh wow.
And they went to Taiwan because of like Mao's
with
cultural
the KMT
revolution. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
But let's talk about food now, because that's related to history, because everything is.
Yes.
What do you like about food? Do you like to cook food, or do you just like eating food? And what kind of food do you like?
I like both. I got big into cooking during the lockdown. Like I went crazy. I bought like a really expensive Dutch oven and a cast iron pan, and got into the gear a lot. I loved cooking like Asian food at the start, but now I'm cooking all sorts of different types of things. But yeah, I love eating out as well.
Are you allowed to
I
eat
think
out
Sydney
now?
is so good for food. Yes, yeah, you are absolutely.
What?
Um,
What?
yeah,
Yeah.
are you guys? I think I saw a video early on in the lockdown of someone going to the street markets in Bangkok, but there's masks on and like there was like dividers and stuff like that between all the
Yeah,
seats and
yeah.
stuff.
I mean, like, to be honest, like, we had it pretty good all 2020 until like
Mm-hmm.
December. We had like a pretty bad, like, second wave, if you want to call it that. The government doesn't want to call it, we have a military government here, so they don't want to call it a second
A
wave. Yes,
junta.
we do. Um, it's, yeah, it is pretty funny. There's like at 8 p.m. every day, there's like an announcement from the the prime
Oh
minister,
wow.
and there's a lot of censorship
Yeah.
on TV. Like they don't even show like people
Wow. Is this
smoking.
going to be censored?
No, this is the internet, so it's a little bit less censored, and also because like
Yeah.
I'm so niche that they don't care. But
Okay.
yeah, like you can't even access the Daily Mail website here. I mean, like we have a lot of freedoms, but we take our freedoms. We really appreciate our freedoms here
Mm-hmm.
because you have
Yeah.
to appreciate things that can be taken away from you at any time. I feel like,
So are you in lockdown at the
well,
moment?
right
Or
now we're not going into another lockdown because I think there'll be rioting if, like, the government just said there'll be a nationwide lockdown because people just can't afford to stop. But there's like really heavy restrictions again, which is like such a,
Mhm.
it's heavy, but you know, the whole world is like going through this second thing. You guys had like another little Northern Beaches spike not long ago.
Yeah, it seems to be cooling now. I think they've found a groove or found a way to deal with it without having to lock down too hard.
Yeah. What's it been like for you, like, with work and stuff? So have you basically not been able to do stand up all year last year?
No, definitely being able to. The rooms were at sometimes really, really good, sometimes at like 25%. But I did it much, much less. But that was kind of a blessing in disguise because I enjoyed having a bit of a break from it all. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's sometimes an instinct where you have to be working really, really hard to like feel like you're making an impact or feel like you're like working out
Yeah.
type of thing. But I think COVID has kind of revealed that you can put the brakes on a bit sometimes.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That's like a nice segue into resilience. I thought I like to have themes in every podcast, and I thought like resilience is a nice theme because, like, you know, like for me, the most resilient spirit animal that I can think of is like a cockroach because like they're everywhere. You know, they keep going. It's really hard to kill them, and they're very like productive little creatures. Do you have like what do you think about the idea of resilience, and what does it mean to you, and does it have a spirit animal?
The spirit animal would be maybe off the top of my head like the human, I would say, one of the most adaptable creatures. And I would say, in terms of resilience, have you read that book Anti-Fragile ever?
No, but I've heard of it. Actually, yeah, I've heard of it.
People love talking about that book. I feel like
It's
that
very
sums up
trendy.
like not only resilience but growing through stress, and I do like that idea.
Yeah.
Because resilience maybe suggests like you're not phased by things,
I feel like
right?
that's a
I don't
facade.
know.
I feel like resilient.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I
a
think,
facade.
like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you think about science, right? you like test the resilience of something by putting stresses on it, right? Like in
Yes.
physics.
Mm-hmm.
And so resilience can only happen if you put a lot of stress on yourself. And like part of that is like acknowledging that you're under stress instead of ignoring it and being like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And just staring off into space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining one of those like test things where they're putting pressure on like an iPhone.
Yeah.
And it's just not acknowledging that it's being put under that test.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think resilience is cool. I think
it is cool.
I don't know. What do we tap into when we talk about resilience?
We talk about
I don't know. I think we're just very adaptable, honestly. Like we can do it if we must.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what that means in certain situations. Yeah.
I feel like we don't realize how much weight we can bear. Like we can actually bear a lot of weight as humans.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yeah, and like life is heavy. It's not just about bearing the weight of competing in life and getting ahead of the rat race and like being successful.
It's not even a race.
It's not even a race.
Treadmill,
it's a treadmill, and we're all just tricking ourselves because it's a treadmill that never stops and it keeps getting faster. And like, you know, everyone's on the treadmill and like, you know, then we have life stuff like the older you get, you have to kind of balance the treadmill with like real life chaos because chaos loves to just build up. And you combine those things and then that becomes a mega load that you need to bear the older you get, I feel like. And resilience is something we were born with, I feel like. It's the inner...
Do you think so?
Yeah, it's like the inner cockroach spirit animal inside of us that's like, you know what? I had a really bad day yesterday, but today I'm waking up and it's a new day. And we have that choice.
Yeah.
We all have that choice to be like, shit's happening. The world is burning down, but I can choose to feel like today's going to be a good day or whatever. You know, that's a choice.
Yeah.
We're presented with so many
I guess
choices.
so. I guess it's also developed because like if you have a kid and the kid is all the time getting what it wants and whatever and never, then the muscle of resilience is less present, right?
It's eating.
But then if you go like through a lot of trials all the time and then you keep going through them, then eventually you're just like, oh, I can deal with that. But then sometimes too much stress makes you go cuckoo, I guess.
Like it's a balance between being fat and eating Doritos and being really ripped and being too ripped that your like muscles are going to pop out of your skin.
Burst a vessel in your eye or something.
Man.
Yeah.
That sounds not nice.
It all goes red. It's not good.
Wow. I didn't know that was a thing.
How did you end up in Bangkok?
I'm half Thai. Well, I'm like half Thai Chinese, and so I was I was born in Hong Kong actually, and I moved to Thailand when I was like 3 or something. I grew up here for a bit, and then I went to Australia when I was like 10, and then
cool.
And like I just felt like when I finished studying, I felt like I wanted to come back. I feel like this is really home. And
cool.
Yeah, Thailand is like a really wonderful place because people here are really nice. They're really nice.
Yeah.
They smile a lot but they mean it. They're inbuilt in our language. You kind of call each other like brother and sister and auntie and uncle, like even if you're strangers. I mean, that's quite an Asian, like It's an Asian thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's a cool
It's
thing.
a cool thing. So you feel like you're like family with everybody that you meet in the street, and like there's awesome food, and there's just a really positive attitude to life that feels light here. I've lived in like a bunch of places. I just moved back from living in France for a few years last year, and like it really made me appreciate like the Thai culture, because like people are just genuinely happy for each other, and there's like the feeling is like a village community. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It's like, yeah.
Have you ever met Mark Wieans?
No. Who's that?
He talks about food a lot on YouTube, and I think he is Thai.
Oh, really?
He lives in Thailand.
I should go and find him. I love making friends.
Yeah.
Making friends is the best.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so good.
I'm going to plug my laptop in real quick. Sorry.
Okay.
It's really early where you are. Hey.
Hell yeah, I woke up at like 5:30.
Oh, sorry to make you do that.
That sentence wasn't intended to make you feel bad as a person.
Yeah. Okay.
It was just a fact. Yeah. Sometimes I have to say that to people in Australia because, like, I know, like, I feel like growing up in Australia, like, I felt like everyone that said stuff. I'm not going to put this up online, this little sentence. Maybe I will.
You can.
I will, actually. Like people, I felt like I had to read into every sentence that people would say to me because there was like an underlying like secret message. But you know what? Like I just say things that are just fact and just how I feel now. There's no hidden messages, and that's how I feel like life functions better. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. Yes, I love honesty.
Yes.
I think, but it's often, a lofty thing to achieve. I'm not as, by the sounds of it, good at it as you are. But,
that's okay. You were born in 95.
I would love to work towards that.
I have a few years ahead of you, so I've been sharpening that muscle.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll get there. And I always get excited about getting older. I dream of being like 40 years old. I think about it sometimes, and I'm like, I'll be something will be formed in me by the time I'm 40.
Were you like one of those kids who like he was like an old man but a child? Like
I don't know. When I was in year 7, I would hang out with the year 12s, and then when I finished uni, all my friends were comedians who were 30, or not finished uni, but stopped doing uni or was in uni or whatever.
Do you think what do you think is like the prime age? So do you think 40 is going to be your prime age? What are you going to do when you're 40?
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know specifically.
What's your life going to be? Like, you have to have, I mean, you're a successful human being, so you probably have goals and aspirations and probably author your future self. So what will your 40-year-old self be? Who will he be like? How will he function in society?
I think I will aim to, by 40, be a trad family man and live a quiet life, that type of thing. You know, there's a musician called King Cruel. Do you know this person? He's actually I love his style, if you're talking about style, but he's, I think he's younger than me, or maybe my age or slightly older, and he has a baby and lives on a farm. It's exciting.
Yeah. Responsibility.
I think that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
To have what I want at 40 at this age, that's crazy.
Dude, like she's just taking the leap, you know, he's just taking the responsibility of life and he's shouldering it, and he's like, He's
Yeah.
showing his resilience, and he's just killing it at life in his 20s. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, what a dream.
A dream.
I thought I had it all figured out
Yeah.
in my 20s. But then I reached 30.
Yeah.
30 was a real turning point for me. Like, as soon as I turned 30,
Why?
suddenly life became real. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in my 20s, everything was like easy. Everything was like, all I had to think about was just climbing up the ranks of my invented career and just like dedicating my time to myself. Then when I hit 30, it was like, okay, now there's real life stuff. There's like, there's like marriage, and then then it's like your parents are getting old and you have to look after your parents. Then you have to think about children, and then you have to juggle all these more things, the real life stuff, with the career stuff.
Things.
And then there's also something about being a woman when you're like 30, and it's like you have to, there's this thing where you have to be like, do I want to focus all my energy on being a ruthless career woman and just trampling on all humankind in my career? Or do I want to like have a family and like just get the ego and step it down a little bit and put that aside and like, dedicate myself to other beings? And it's kind of a fork in the road that I think guys don't get that so distinctly when they turn 30.
Acutely,
but when you turn 30 as a lady, it's like genetics and science makes you think about these things. It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I can sympathize, but I can't empathize because I'm neither of those things yet. But I can tell you the 20s have been easy.
What do you like most about 20s?
I guess it's just a lot of choice, to a fault maybe. I think early 20s I got a lot of FOMO. I think I'm kind of growing out of that a little bit, like because there's so much choice, you're always worried you're making the wrong choice. But now, like, I think a good option is to just stay at home in your bed doing a podcast with someone in Bangkok with a ponytail journal. I think that's like the best thing I could possibly be doing.
Wow, I'm so stoked about that. Beautiful. Yeah. Talking about life with a complete stranger that we met on the internet.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's good.
Kind of what I've been doing a lot recently. It's pretty fun.
Yes.
You should start a podcast if you just feel like it.
I feel like I'm... Yeah, thank you. I feel like there's so many people better than me at the niche of podcasting, but maybe one day.
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's just a construct in your mind.
No one's stopping me.
No one's stopping you.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, if you invent a new lane, then nobody's better at doing it because you just invented it.
You're right.
That's my life philosophy.
Do you have any more style tips or anything like that? Where should I buy some clothes? I'm looking at buying some clothes.
No problem. So like, I only buy old clothes. Like, I don't buy new clothes. So my favorite, Vinnie's, Salvos in Australia, like all the op shops, the thrift stores. That's when you sharpen your eye for the universe. That's when you sharpen.
But it's hard work thrifting, right?
It's not. It's the funnest thing you'll ever do, and you'll be. It's an addiction. I have a problem. I admit it. It's a sickness, and it's something that once you get hooked, you just can't stop doing. And you end up collecting. Basically, when you start thrifting, you collect the things that people think are junk, but they're like beautiful works of art that tell you about life and tell you about the past and yourself. You know, the other day I picked up some tiki mugs for $1, and on the bottom, what made them so special was on the bottom there was the Sizzler logo. And do you know what Sizzler is? They probably still have like 1 or 2 Sizzlers in Australia left. But it was...
That's like a barbecue place, hey? Like a steak place.
So it was like my childhood, like in the 90s, like Sizzler was popping. Like Sizzler was the place you go, the salad bar and the chocolate mousse. The chocolate mousse, you'd put jelly in it at the end, and like it was the best place ever. It was... So yeah, Sizzler mugs, like I've been collecting, like look at this t-shirt today. It's Montana Bass. It's got holes in it because whoever was wearing it probably wore it fishing all the time, lived the life, and now it's living a second life on me. Like when you look at a shop filled with junk, there's so much possibility. It's like a microcosm of potential just waiting to be unlocked. And, the more you do it, the more you sharpen your eye for who you are, because you keep picking up things, and they could be things for like 50 cents, 20 cents, $1, $2. Like you don't have to spend a lot of money on these things, but that you just pick them up and you don't know why you love them, but you love them so much and you collect them.
Can I tell you my general thrifting experience?
Please do.
So I do totally understand where you're coming from, but I find it tough because I always buy something and then I don't wear it, or like I go and I find nothing that I really want, or my size is too weird to like thrift for, and you have to spend so much time, but I don't have that muscle yet. So I guess it is a thing of like, it's like gardening or whatever, where you actually have to spend time at getting good at it before it's easy.
Yeah. You have to do it a lot.
So I think that I need to put the hard yards in.
Oh, yeah. You can't just go to one op shop.
Shopping makes me so sleepy.
You can't just go to one op shop. It's like in one day you might dedicate your Sunday to like 5 op shops at least.
Yeah,
or like diving in and flea market with that if there's a flea market around. But the best things are like bargain bins and like, and also like finding CDs. Do you have a CD player in your house?
No, not at the moment. I used to buy so many. I've got a CD player in my car.
Oh, sick.
I used to buy so many CDs in 2013 because I stopped torrenting music that year.
Beautiful.
And I had like such a big stack of CDs.
Nice. Op shops are great for CDs, finding those like hidden gems. And the best thing about CDs that I'm not sure if like young people don't understand, I'm not calling you a young person, I'm calling just people out in the young universe.
I am young though, thank you.
Is that like nowadays we experience music in a different way. We don't listen to like a whole album. It's like when you play a CD in your car, you're forced to listen to the whole album. And like, do you know how much work that person, whoever made that CD, like how much work it would have been to curate a track list from beginning to end and probably like cut out a bunch of songs and like take you on a journey? That's beautiful in itself.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's also like interesting metaphor for a wider thing, which is like because we have so much choice, like we can get bored so much easy. Like it's so much harder to choose a song than to just let an album play and play, like force you to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. So my theory about thrifting, and that's why I do it all the time and that's where I get inspiration from, is that my parameters, there's like a set of parameters which is the walls of that thrift shop. Whereas if I was to try and look at look for inspiration for a new collection just on the internet, I would have infinite like possibilities, and that's like too much choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So I feel like
Yeah.
what I've figured, this is my theory, that like creativity works best when you have a framework. It's like creativity is like problem solving, and like, can you imagine trying to solve a problem when there's no problem to solve yet?
Yeah. Yes, it's often so much easier to like, these are your parameters and go. I totally agree.
Totally. Well, Aaron Chen, do you have any words of wisdom from your wisdom school to share with us for your last little spot segment on the Ponytail show? I drew that out so that you'd have time to think about it.
Yeah, and I just said the first thing that came to my mind.
Always be writing.
Yeah, do morning pages, journal, whatever. I think it's a great way to clear your mind and meditate, and also to have a record of what you've been thinking about.
Beautiful. Thanks, Aaron.
Okay.
Well, everyone who's listening, please go and check out A Life in Question Wisdom School by with Aaron Chen. It's on the Adult Swim website, and it's on. I looked this up. It's on HBO Max,
and on YouTube.
So if people want to check you out, how can they do that, Aaron?
Instagram, Chenny Lifestyle. That's probably the best bet.
Sick. Thanks, Aaron. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it.